Hello. Welcome to the Universal Mind Channel, episode number 4. The last episode we took a look at the Big Bang, the universe, consciousness, and how that played a role in reincarnation. Today we begin a series of episodes on how evolution plays a direct role in reincarnation and hardwiring our bodies and brains to allow for reincarnation. Consciousness is universal. You can call consciousness God, you can call it the universal mind, or you can call it the force. Doesn't matter, it's all one. Same thing. Your consciousness is not your own. We share it with existence, with the universe. It's the ocean. It's the soil of the universe, metaphorically speaking. Self-awareness is the flower that grows out of the soil. You develop your self-awareness through your life. You become self-aware as you become aware of your experience in life as an individual person. We're not self-aware at birth because we don't have an awareness of our being separate from anything else. That's learned behavior. For example, if I stub my toe as a child and I yell out in pain, I notice no one else shares that. So I see that I'm separate, I'm different from others. My experience, my feelings, my emotions, my physical sensations are different from other people. It's the dichotomy, the dialectic, subjective, objective awareness, me versus the exterior environment, everything else. Now, self-awareness grows out of consciousness through personal experience and emotions. The limbic system in our brain imprints relative degrees of emotional weight upon each neuron-based memory. Consciousness is the soil, self-awareness the flower. We gain self-awareness as we experience existence as individual beings on an emotional level every day. Before we get into the specific physiological processes I believe are involved at death to allow for reincarnation, the preservation of who we are to the next body. Before we do that, there's some introductory information I want to part with you. We stand at a crossroads, ladies and gentlemen. Our crossroads cannot be found on any map. It's a waypoint, not of space and place, but of mind and time. Modern technological advances have brought humanity to a critical nexus where the gravitational pull of our ideological past, faith, and religious beliefs are racing headlong on a collision course with humanity's rush towards its future and scientific discovery. Nothing epitomizes this conflict between past and future, faith and fact, religious belief, and scientific objectivity more than the issue of whether there is a life after death. We all want to know the answer to the question, is there life after death? There may not be many issues we agree on, but that is one we all understand. Every one of us. Our ancestors believed that there can be no life after death except through religious faith. But let's put that aside. This is not about religion. We have to look beyond that. Does an afterlife exist independent of religious faith? If it is, what are the processes by which such an afterlife occurs? None of the world's great religions attempt to answer this question scientifically. The Hubble telescope, the Webb telescope, and other satellites give us pictures of the cosmos almost at the very dawn of our universe. Geneticists have mapped both human and animal DNA and RNA. Researchers program our DNA to resist disease and birth defects. Engineers program machines, even automobiles, with AI, artificial intelligence. Physicists use massive particle accelerators, such as the one at CERN, to discover ever smaller and more fundamental elements, like the Higgs boson, and bring us ever closer to replicating the Big Bang. If we're capable of all of this, is not our technology now advanced enough to begin the process of unmasking the greatest mystery of all, the afterlife? If we can spend billions of dollars for war and to search for intelligent life on other planets, can't we begin to look scientifically at whether there's life after death here on Earth? Scientifically, not by faith, but objective fact. Does it exist? And if so, what are the processes? How does it happen? Specifically, scientifically. Does an afterlife exist or not? Surely our technologically advanced civilization is mature enough to put the afterlife to the test. But can our science now show us the truth of what lies beyond the pale frontier we call death? Is it not time to begin the study of life beyond the grave? More to the point, are we now ready to take the bold next step in our intellectual and spiritual enlightenment and face the challenge the following question poses for each of us? Is there life after death without religion? Because the Hubble and the Webb telescopes have shown there is no heaven and there is no hell anywhere in the universe. They've looked back to the dawn of time and they've found neither. And I don't believe they will. And a growing number of individuals around the world believe that too. Humanity is ready for this journey. In fact, humanity is desperate for an opportunity to free itself from the intellectual chains of thousand-year-old ideologies that have less to do with individual spiritual development than the manipulation of societies through mind control of the masses. So let us turn the question inside out. Instead of whether an afterlife exists, let's pose the following question instead. Does an afterlife exist dependent solely upon natural laws? We do not present proven fact. It's just a theory. It's a theoretical model that I present in this series. However, this theory is supported by modern scientific research. Each of the biological processes necessary for our theoretical model to work is validated by published scientific research, and it's cited each of those individual research projects upon which this theory is based is cited in the book I wrote, Reincarnation, the Scientific Theory, published back in 2021. And it's from that book that this theory evolved from. And if you are interested in sites, and I will mention the sites as well during this series, but if anyone's interested in the sites or to read the book itself, it's still available. What this means is that the biological processes necessary for an afterlife to exist are present in the physical body right now, the human physical body, we believe. But until now, they've remained hidden, like pieces of a puzzle, waiting for someone to put them together. The answer to this puzzle begins with a simple question. What is the purpose for life? And I do want to step back a minute And I mentioned that there are scientific research projects that are the basis of this theory. Why didn't they think of it? Why didn't they discover it? Because this is a multifaceted, multi-discipline theory. And the way scientists work, they're stuck in little nodules of their specialty, their own expertise, little area here, narrow area over here. And they're busy doing that, and they really don't have time to research what everybody else is doing, and they're not looking. They're not looking for evidence of a life after death, of the physical processes. They're not interested in that. They're interested in doing research that they can employ to write papers, pursue patents, very specific end goals that they need to do for their professions and their careers. Okay? And quite frankly, I didn't come upon it until I retired from the legal profession, and I started doing research, studied physics, quantum mechanics, physiology, genetics, evolution. I didn't have the time to do that when I was working as a lawyer, as a criminal defense trial lawyer. But upon my retirement, I dedicated myself to that. I spent years studying those subjects because I was fascinated to what extent medical science and scientific community as a whole had advanced enough that you could put the pieces of the puzzle together to form a theory. And I believe I found it. And that's why I wrote the book. And then we're going to go over it. So again, what is the objective purpose of life? We understand that there are many perspectives regarding this question. However, we don't concern ourselves with that here. Here, there's only one issue: life itself. From the very moment life on Earth began as a single-celled organism with cilia reaching out into the external environment for stimuli, existence has been one of the quest for knowledge and experience and information about one's environment. Billions of years later, cilia have become nerve endings, reaching out in skin-covered limbs, and stimuli is no longer other bacteria, but the universe itself. Nevertheless, the concepts upon which life began remains with us today. We, the human being ruling class of the modern world, cushion our daily existence with the superficial luxuries of technology. We stand upon the summit of the pyramid of biological evolution. Strip away our science, remove our engineering, and we share the same priority that dominates the existence of every other species on this planet, and I'm sure others. We wish to survive. We need to survive. Survival is the driving force that propels all we do. We may not think so, but it is. Its premise is inlaid within every motivation and action we take. We're hardwired to search for survival. Survival for us, like every other species that came before us, depends upon one thing: information. We worship it. We worship information. We spend our lives in the pursuit, collection, preservation, and sharing of information. All human life, from the very sensory inputs of our five senses to the love of history, literature, science, the arts, construction, sports, music, religion, philosophy, law, and politics, ultimately, they're all intimately intertwined with information. The context may change, but the urge to know remains fixed and unwavering. Why? Why? Why are we so drawn, so addicted to information? Information is nothing more than stimuli. Evolution has programmed us to rely upon for our individual survival and experiential growth. The information we receive during a lifetime is stored in our neurons as memories. Our brain is a vast memory bank of everything we've experienced. We label this individuality. It's a creation within us. We create who we are every day of our lives with everything we experience. All that every human possesses is a construct of one's consciousness and memories. Every life is unique. Every life has unique episodic sequences of events. These event sequences are stored in our neurons as memories. Every time we consider our past, our memories flow like water over the emotional waterfall of our limbic system in our brain. This waterfall of memories through the limbic system constructs our identities, our individualities. Why? Because the limbic system controls our emotions. We have an experience. It's related to our brain. The brain stores it as a memory, but before it's stored in a neuron, it passes through the limbic system, and the limbic system imprints each memory it receives. It imprints each memory with a weighted amount of chemical. The more important events get a heavy dose of that chemical. The minimal event, the events that don't matter, do not get a heavy chemical dose. The heavier the dose, the more we remember it. The more emotions are attached to it, and the bigger the neuron becomes. This information is shaped by our own uniquely evolving personalities and then formatted as neural and synaptic memories, which are in chemical communication with our DNA and RNA codes by evolutionary processes. Does evolution find individuality of information the main point of human cerebral growth? If so, and if individuality is so important, evolution would need to protect its existence. Evolution wants to survive just like it wants us to survive, because evolution and the being that it is encased within, the evolutionary process of our genes, is a living thing, and it is dedicated to its own survival. That's its program, survival. It must survive, and for it to survive, we must survive. The body dies, so what can happen? How does individuality survive? Because survival is the prime directive. You heard Star Trek, the prime directive? Well, the prime directive of life is survival. That's all. Survive. What biochemical processes would evolution likely create to protect its most important creation, individuality? What separates us from lower life forms? Our brain. But what does our brain do? Creates individuality. What does communication do? Communication is an evolutionary development. What does it do? What's its purpose? Individuality. Because the more we communicate, the more we learn about ourselves versus others. And the more we become individuals. And that's the point to life, is the separation from the soil. The flower becomes an individual from the soil. The being becomes an individual out of the sea of consciousness. It versus all. The singular versus the everything, the infinite. It's that dichotomy that existence is about. It's about the universe reaching out to find itself through what it creates, us. Now another question. Evolution controls our life, right? If it controls our life, doesn't it also have to control our death and the life after? Let's ask ourselves first the question, why do we die? The law of conservation of energy states that energy cannot be destroyed. Energy can only change its form from one state to another through transitions consistent with natural laws. So why do we die? And what happens to our energy after we die? If our energy cannot be lost but only transformed from one state to another, what is that state? How is our energy transformed when we die, and where does it go? In other words, what are the specific physical processes involved in the transformation of energy from our dying bodies to whatever exists after our bodies die? And what happens to our individuality and the consciousness upon which that creates it and contains it? These are the questions that any life after death science would ask, but that's the problem. Aside from anecdotal reporting from curious emergency room physicians who've witnessed events that have no apparent explanation in the emergency room, scientists have been unwilling to study these issues. As a result, even today, there is no life after death science. Even today, we rely upon 2,000-year-old beliefs that science has confirmed are not correct, because there is no heaven and there is no hell, except maybe what we make on earth as a metaphor. Let me give you a couple examples of these emergency room physicians, some anecdotal reports. Lakshmir S. Chawla, Lakshmir, Chawla, Chawla, MD. He was appointed chief medical officer at Law Pharmaceutical, and before he was that, he was a practicing anesthesiologist, and he taught medicine as an associate professor at a very elite medical school. He was associate professor at the George Washington University School of Medicine and Health Sciences in Washington, D.C. Chawla's research involved human patients at the end of life, which he observed in his work as a practicing anesthesiologist at the George Washington University Hospital. Chawla witnessed the process of death firsthand many times. He reports that of the approximately 100 human subjects whose death he witnessed, 80% exhibited an unexplained EEG spike at death. And the site to his report is Chawla LS. Sorry, let me get rid of that. Chawla LS. Surges of electroencephalogram activity at the time of death, a case series, 2011, published in Toward a Science of Consciousness, Brain, Mind, Reality. While conceding no one knows what causes these EEG spikes, Chawla concludes this EEG spike observed in so many patients at death cannot be a random event, and suggests the spike is a telltale signal of a physiological process, the cause of which he believes is still a mystery. Of course. Another physician, James H. Lake, is a board-certified psychiatrist who's published research in peer-reviewed journals on integrative medicine and psychiatry, with an emphasis on the role of consciousness and intentionality in human healing. He, too, has observed sudden EEG spikes at near-death events, and he wonders why they happen. Lake acknowledges he doesn't know the cause of them or the reason for these obviously non-random near-death EEG spikes. The brain. There's something going on at death in the brain that doesn't happen any other time. He sees the near-death experience as a unique event consisting of the encoding and decoding of information in cortical and subcortical brain regions. In his study, his paper, is cited James Lake, The Near-Death Experience, a Testable Neural Model, 2016, published in the Psychology of Theory, Research, and Practice, pages 115 to 134. That's all there is for now, scientifically, and those are anecdotes. To put the issue in proper historical perspective, consider this. Regarding life after death, we're where Sir Isaac Newton stood when he witnessed the apple fall first from the tree. That's 500 plus years ago. That's horrific. That we still, when it comes to life after death science, we're still that far back in time. We're no further evolved in scientific knowledge about life after death than Sir Isaac Newton was at the time he observed that apple fall from the tree. We observe life at the end. We observe flesh die like he observed the apple fall. And we wonder why, like he did. Why? And we haven't done anything with it. It's time that changed, ladies and gentlemen. We stand in Newton's shoes watching the flesh die without a clue what force or forces control it, why it happens, or what energies are involved. We observe the superficial processes of physiological death, but we have no idea how those processes relate to the natural laws governing the physical processes of the universe. But I submit to you, and we're going to take a look at the exact processes of the theory that I've developed. We stand at the doorway of such a discovery if we pursue it. If you pursue it. Waiting for us ahead is the mystery of life in a causal universe that science is only now beginning to explore. Who can say what we're going to find? My theory is one small step. Next episode, we'll take the next step and look into it a little further. Thank you for watching. We'll see you then. This is the Universal Mind Channel. And you can reach us if you have a question or want to share one of the events in your life and spiritual journey in your life. You can contact us at the Universal Mind Channel at gmail.com. That's the Universal Mind Channel at gmail.com. Have a good day.